Hey guys, Rob Lally here. In today's video, I'm going to give you 3 tips and techniques which David Goggins has used to go from someone with a really bad start in life, constantly being like abused by his father, no money, everyone had written him off, into a Navy SEAL who's won ultra marathons again and again and again, to being a motivational speaker, an author, a person who people look up to now as a role model for a resilient mindset and success. Now, if you don't know who David Goggins is a person who came from nothing and built himself into an inspiration for millions and millions of people. He had such a traumatic upbringing that most people had written him off. His dad used to beat him up, his mum didn't believe in him, his teachers picked on him, and he was overweight. And one day he decided he wanted to turn his life around. And he used resilience and motivation to lose over 100 pounds in just 3 months. So he was fit enough and passed the requirements to join the Navy SEALs, which, as you probably know, has some of the toughest training on the entire planet. But it doesn't stop there though. David Goggins is now an author, a motivational speaker, an ultra marathon runner as well. Now here's just some of his achievements. Look at this. His running career started back in 2005. He has done all these ultra marathons. Imagine running for 30 hours in a row. Imagine running for 60 hours in a row. Second place, first place, second place, first place, first place, 13th place, first place. These are competing against world record holders. He also achieved the Guinness World Records for the most amount of pull-ups in 24 hours, hitting 4,030, or another 100-mile race. All these different types of races. It's crazy. Is there anything this guy cannot do? Now, I've just went through his book again, Can't Hurt Me. I highly recommend you pick it up. Can't Hurt Me is one of those books where you listen to it or read it. It's on Audible as well, and you feel so motivated afterwards, knowing that somebody came from literal hell and achieved so much. And listen to some of his podcasts recently, trying to figure out exactly how this dude built himself from nothing into something. And it really comes down to 3 techniques that he has used to do this. The first technique he talks about is callousing your mind. And he sums it up like, life is actually pretty hard. And anything that's worthwhile doing is going to be difficult to do. So the quicker you can callous your mind and expose yourself on a consistent basis to uncomfortable things, the quicker you can pretty much build resilience, because you're going to need that resilience later to do increasingly challenging things. So that's tip number 1. Think about in your life right now how you can callous your mind. You know, when you're lying in bed in the morning and the alarm goes off, it's pretty easy to hit snooze. Even just small things like jumping out of bed as soon as the alarm goes off to actually encourage yourself to start getting up a bit earlier. Or how about you plan to go to the gym earlier in the day, something you really don't want to do, that is just gonna have a compounding great effect on your life. You know, if you can start small like that, like David Goggins did, you eventually can start to do even more challenging things, because you can't just jump from 0 to 100. If you try and jump in the deep end of the pool, you know, without any support, you might drown, right? So just start learning to swim first. And you do this by taking increasingly small steps of discomfort. Number 2, I was listening to this podcast with him, and he was talking about how he always just focused on one thing at a time. In today's age, it's very, very difficult to focus on one thing at a time. You know, we have so many different social medias we could be looking at all the time. We have so many different distractions. But he was saying that, like, when he does a podcast with someone and he speaks, he is 100% present in the room. When he does an ultra marathon, he is 100% present in training for it. When he's actually out there running, he is 100% just concentrate on running. There is nothing else which is actually going around his head at those moments. And he says, because of this focus that he has on achieving like one thing at a time, it has led him to be able to conquer something and then move on to something else. Conquer it, move on to something else. So what things have you got going on right now that you can cut out and just focus? Have you got tasks you should be doing? Have you got maybe like a business venture and you're trying to focus on like getting the content out of there? Think what David Goggins would do. Well, he would just sit there and do that content until he has mastered it, until he's done the best he can do, and then he'd move on to the next item on his action list. Don't try and do everything at once, because if someone like David Goggins is telling you that you need to focus on one thing at a time, probably should listen to that, okay? Action step number 3, he said that like a big part of his success was visualization, but not any type of visualization. He said that he would always visualize, this is key, right? The reward of accomplishing something before he even started to, prepare for it. So if it's a race, right, he said he would always visualize before he even started training for it, the end in mind, which is what Stephen Covey talks about in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, starting with the end in mind. So David Goggins said that like he used to just imagine what it would be like to complete his Navy SEAL training, which, as you know, is some of the hardest training on the planet. It's got Hell Week, where you're literally put through hell and you have to like use your fitness, you have to use like your resilience just to get through. Some people have even died during that training, just to give you an insight into how tough it is. And he said that all he set his mind to was what the feeling would be like once he had accomplished it. And this is something I've noticed in very successful people who will do anything to get something done. They're always really, really great at visualizing the finish line and what it feels like, what it looks like, even down to people like Conor McGregor. If you watch any of Conor McGregor's old interviews, he talked about holding world championship belts before he actually got them.
Nice. You promised this moment from the beginning, and of course you had doubters all along the way. Now that you've achieved it, give us an idea of what the emotion is like.
Look, it feels great. It feels familiar. I saw it so clearly. I swear to God, I saw it so clearly, so consistently, until it's here in reality. So I've been saying this a long time. I'm very confident in my abilities and what I'm predicting I'm going to do, and I back it up. I back it up with work ethic. I back it up with hours upon hours of time and dedication. I never slip. I never take a second off this game. So I'm very, very satisfied, very grateful, very happy, but not surprised. You know what I mean? I knew it. I knew it was going to happen for me.
But there's something powerful about visualizing your success and what it feels like, what it smells like, what it looks like before you actually achieve it. It's almost like it sets a goal for your brain. So that's it. If you want to achieve something right now, you know that you're going to have to callous your mind, build resilience like David Goggins says. That's your first step. Second step, you must get relentlessly focused. Cut out all the distractions. Stay exactly present to the moment, focusing on exactly what you're doing right now. That's really the only way to move the boat forward. Third, make sure you're concentrating on what reward you will get at the end of the finish line. Visualize it, feel it, think what it's gonna like sound like, because most people who've achieved success seem to do this from what I say, and they're just the people who actually talk about it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think as well, and see you in the next one.